Woohoo! Do we really need that much?
That would be awesome. We need to do an 8-hour Everyday Linux, which would just really be add 3 more show notes, 3 more stories, and we'd be there. That's all it would take.
Dude, that would be... I don't know if I could do an 8-hour Linux show.
Let's see, I brought my charger this week, so we can go. We're good to go for hours and hours. I brought my charger.
Okay, any of these y'all want to cut, like in the news section?
We need to see how long the feedback goes.
So, no news? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't... Looking at all of those, there's none of those I would immediately cut.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Pi one, since it's going to be a Pi-heavy show, the cross-platform Flash one, I like that one. So I'll try to cherry pick.
Okay, we can actually take the Supreme Court one and move it down with like the how many drug dealers in the house, and we could do like a kind of just a perception, the court's perception of technology. That would be a show topic.
Yeah. Okay. So while we're talking, because the first bit of the show will be me, why don't you go ahead and group those into things that you consider essential, important, and cuttable. How about that?
Oh, let me just go shift home.
So Rick says we could do an 8-hour show without ever actually mentioning Linux. We could probably do it.
Probably. Yeah, I think we could.
Welcome to Everyday. My name is Mark.
No, all you have to do there is just say EDL. Welcome to EDL. Yeah. See?
Oh, righty then. Shall we do this thing?
Hold on, let me next week we'll move this down here, and that will be
there's a lot of listener feedback. You're right, Seth. We may get to none of these news things, but that's okay. We'll do the listener feedback, we'll do an ad, we'll say goodnight. This is like 16 pages of stuff here. Partly it's how I have it formatted.
Okay, so we'll move those down to later shows. Man, I really want to talk about the golly, I want to talk.
I know.
We can, since we have a cross-platform thing, we can get rid of the Ubuntu patching because I just not a big deal, just to remind people that Linux isn't invincible, regardless of what the fanboys say.
I once heard Paul Thurrott on Windows Weekly. They were talking about a Patch Tuesday where there were like 57 patches, and he said, "You know what Linux users call that? Thursday." And he's totally right. Every day there's 5 updates, and that's not. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's better to get them out early. But I understand alert fatigue.
Right. Yeah. If everything's important, nothing's important.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna hit record, and we're gonna do this, whether you're ready or not, man.
What? How dare you?
Recording now.
Hello, everyone. And now you're talking and just blew the whole. Thank you. The show's ruined. It's all your fault.
Throw the table up. I'm done.
Man, we can't have a show unless it's ruined. Come on, that's just part of the shtick.
All right, one more time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday Linux, episode 142. May the 4th be with you. Recorded May the 4th, 2014, and brought to you by Element OP Productions. ElementOP.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the show that is not about Linux, but about life in the context of Linux. We are coming at you on May the 4th, 2014, and that's just the geeky excuse to watch all the Star Wars movies in a row. May the 4th be with you. Yes.
Which is why I will never do it on May 4th.
Oh, there you go. You got to be the anti-hero. And of course,
I watch them because I enjoy them, not because society tells me I must.
Those voices you were hearing, that is the inimitable, and also hard to pronounce, Seth, the Gooey Kid Anderson. Hey, Seth, how are things?
Well, most things are well, except for the things not meant to be well.
Excellent. And that stoicism, that what do they call that? There's a line for that, a word for that kind of thing. Gnomic, the sounding wise without actually saying anything. From that gnomic greeting on to the gnome master. I tried. It didn't work.
No.
The command line godfather, Mr. Chris Neves. Hey, Chris, how are things?
And things are good today. So if today's May the 4th be with you, does that mean tomorrow is Revenge of the Sith? Or Fifth?
Revenge of the Fifth, yes.
No, tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. You get to drink all day,
which is also known as Montezuma's Revenge, and so actually May the 6th would be Revenge of the Fifth, being the fifth of tequila you drink.
Right.
My name is Mark, sometimes referred to as the Sultan of the Soapbox. Welcome to this train wreck of a show. I wish I could say that was unusual. It's not. We wreck the train every week. You know what? And we like it that way. If you wanted professionalism, you'd listen to another show.
Well, most of the time we're professional.
Yes.
No, wait, I can't even say that with a straight face. Sorry, guys.
Come on. Professional?
So a friend of mine
We're just having fun.
is big into the Opie and Anthony show. I don't know if either of you guys ever listen to Opie and Anthony. I have not, outside of the context of my friend. Like when we work together, so every now and then we carpool, and he'll pop on an Opie and Anthony podcast, and their shows seem to be about 3.5 hours of this shtick. It's just a couple of guys, 3 or 4 guys, and the Howard Stern show is really the same thing too. They just talk about whatever. There was this one show, it was a compilation show. It was about 2 hours of all the crap stories, not stories that weren't any good, but the stories about taking a dump that they had told over the years. And it was the poop show, but they didn't use the word poop. They used the word that was alliterative with the word show.
Did they mention the poop app for Android?
I don't know. The Poop Log app. Yeah. Anyway, I just think that's interesting that we have hit upon a niche accidentally that apparently people are making money from. So maybe we should do less Linux and more poop. No, I don't want to do that.
We'd lose our sponsor if we did that. I think they would have a problem.
Oh, I can tell that tonight is not going to be a good night to read the chat room. Because there's a whole discussion going on there that will derail me if I even try to read it. So hello, chat room. Glad you're here with us. I'll be ignoring you for the rest of the evening. So just a little bit of a programming note. Next week we have Seth. Do we know exactly who it is yet?
Yes, and if I pull up his email, I can. Hold on. Yes, we do. Does that help?
Would you like to tell us?
Well,
No,
hold
it's a
on.
secret.
I got too many windows open here, and I don't have a mouse, so I'm doing this with my trackpad. So my speed is Robert J. Don, Dohnert. I'm going to have to ask him how to pronounce that.
Right, and he is what with who?
He is with Black Lab Linux. Basically, I responded to their contact us thing, and he's the guy that responded back.
So we don't know if he's the developer or the community manager. We don't know his title.
Right, but he is with Black Lab Linux, and that'll be a couple of the questions we ask him is who exactly are you, and maybe exactly like that. I don't know, but yeah, and he's going to be with us for the whole show. I don't know why. He must like pain.
He clearly hasn't listened to a show.
Yeah, or at least hadn't before he agreed to that. So, but yeah, he will be here. So we'll be talking some Black Lab Linux. If y'all are curious about Black Lab Linux and there's specific things you want to know, just let us know. And can't promise that everything you want to know will be in the interview, but we'll try to incorporate some of it.
I'm going to butcher this name, but Hussein Al-Sheikhi in the chat room says, "Is this a show about Linux?" And the response was, "Sometimes. Only sometimes."
It's life in the context of Linux.
It's a show about guys who like Linux. So we look forward to Black Lab. I know nothing about Black Lab Linux. I've never heard of it. Don't know anything about it. So I will be the idiot in residence. Not that that's anything new. Next week, and we'll be interested to hear about that. So you guys have asked for more interviews, and Seth has delivered. So awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. And I'm taking multiple computers with me when I go to LinuxCon, so we might get 2 years worth of interviews out of my trip there.
That could be cool.
Sweet. I like that idea.
And we can do it the way we did it with the Salient OS guy. He didn't speak English well, so he said. He actually spoke English awesomely. And so we sent him the questions ahead of time, and then we created an interview around him. So maybe we could do the same thing. We'll have a list of questions for you to ask people. You'll get their recorded answers, and then we'll fake a show around them.
Yeah,
cool.
Work.
So did either of you guys do anything Star Wars related today on May the 4th? On May the 4th? No. I don't think anybody actually does. It's except on television.
My son asked to watch his Star Wars cartoon, the Clone Wars series. So does that count?
Sure.
Okay.
I saw some Star Wars themed memes on Facebook. Does that count?
I can't do it today, but yeah, I can't at all because my collection of Star Wars movies bit the dust along with the drive that contains them.
Oh no!
I had a 1 terabyte drive that it went from that's making a weird sound to Click of Death to gone in a couple of hours. I mean, I first heard it making a weird noise, so that I need to look into that. And then a couple hours later, it was gone. And
wow.
There's nothing I can do about it. Now, I'm not too mad about it. It's been running 24/7 for 6 years. So it's a little hard to be too mad about it. But all my media is gone. Now I have all those things back on the original. I'm old school. The Star Wars ones I had on VHS, and I had converted those.
Ouch.
And I don't even have a VCR anymore. Who does? So I'm going to have to find some alternative solution.
I have a VCR. Does that make me bad? Actually, I think I have 3 of them.
That's funny. We're gone. All of ours are gone. The last one stopped working, and we were like, yeah, whatever. So we still have like a big. I'm doing my hands because it's an audio podcast and people can see it. A big box of DVD videos from when we moved. That I don't know that we'll ever be able to watch those again. I mean, where could I buy a DVD, VCR, if I wanted to? eBay maybe.
Amazon probably. Amazon sells everything. Let's go look. Amazon.com from elementopie.com/Amazon. So let's see if there's VCRs over at Amazon really quick using our affiliate link. Yep.
No, don't do that because if the percentage link is high, we get a bigger percentage. You just ruined it, Chris. You have to buy something now.
I have 12 things in my cart that I have to buy tonight, so it's not going to hurt nothing.
Okay.
So anyway,
Target has them for like $35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, see, you can buy them.
Anyway, so my point being, the demise of my technology continues, and we have some feedback about that in the show that I'll read in a little bit. But it's been a hard couple of weeks, months for me. It's been rough.
Oh, and if you send me your drive, I have a spare system. I can see if SpinRite can recover it.
I don't think that's the case. It's not even there. I mean, BIOS doesn't see it as a drive.
So yeah.
Well, I think it's just physically gone.
Yeah, that's okay. I would guess the controller panel, the little controller module, burned up on it.
I think it's more likely one of the servos died and the little needle won't move. It still spins, but you don't hear the arm moving. I think it's just gone. But anyway, so not a tragedy, just an annoyance. I'm gonna have to go back, and so I had this Facebook thread going because I commented on Facebook, and people were saying, "Well, why didn't you have that backed up?" Well, because the stupid U.S. copyright laws only allow you to make one legal backup copy of media you purchased. So that was the backup. And I can't back up my backups. That's illegal. And I try to be, as much as possible, a law-abiding fellow. So I just didn't. The only choice I have is to go back and re-rip them all. And
there's a few days of your life going away.
Yeah, it'll take a month or so probably to go. And here's the thing: it's really tempting for me to just go out to the Pirate Bay, get a queue of torrents, set them to download overnight, and be done. I bought the media. I own the movies. Why shouldn't I do that? Well, because technically that's illegal.
Yeah, I would say technically you'll get your hand slapped, and hopefully you don't breach your 6 strikes or you're out rule.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's just the way things are going, and I also wanted to let people know I was wrong. I know that that's hard for you to believe. Sometimes your benevolent dictator does get things wrong. I fell victim to a common urban myth, and the internet set me right. There's one thing the internet is good about, and that's letting you know when you're wrong. Glass is not a slow-moving liquid, as I said last week. That's one of those things where the evidence backs you up, but the math doesn't. So several different listeners sent me links to how that is totally not true. And what it appears to be is there's anecdotal evidence. You can look at old windows that are thicker at the bottom than they are at the top, and what I referenced was you can see wavy lines, and the obvious conclusion to draw there is that the glass is moving over time, but really it's probably more flaws in their manufacture process early on. But somebody did some math on what it would take for glass to move, and it was something like more time than the universe is known to have existed for it to move 1 atom's width. So the math does not bear out the myth, so I'm correcting that. Heaven forbid I be a perpetuator of a myth. Glass is not a slow-moving liquid. It is a solid.
Golly, Mark, next thing you're going to say something crazy like the Earth isn't flat.
I know. Now let's watch the heresy there. The Holy Roman Church could burn us for that.
Careful.
I mean, that's like saying that the sun revolves around the Earth instead of the Earth revolving around the sun. You got to watch out for stuff like that. Okay, so I'm done now. You guys go. Seth ran a race again?
No, I am actually. I have 2 5Ks coming up this week. One on Thursday and then one on Saturday, where I am going to be gunning for a personal best time. So.
Well, good for you, Seth. I hope you make it through and don't have the horrible feet that I've seen some runners get after, long marathons.
Well, I don't call a 5K a marathon, but I just went and spent $110 on a pair of running shoes. So I'm becoming that person that I make fun of. So it's yet another reason I have to make fun of myself. And more proof, my trainer's trying to kill me. I don't know if you can, it doesn't show up real well on the screen, and this is doing great for you people listening, but now I have carpet burns on my elbows where my trainer made me do planks on carpet. So yeah. He's trying to kill me one day at a time.
Yeah, but if you're doing a plank, your elbows shouldn't be on the carpet.
No, because you're on your toes and your forearms. So,
yep.
And so, well, I mean, it's kind of like right up my elbow thing. I just said elbow for general body reference.
I didn't even know what a plank was. I thought plank was like a held push-up. But
nope.
Well, it kind of is, but instead of being on your hands, you're like on your forearms. And then, your back is straight. And I did one for a minute. I can't believe I held plank for a minute. And those of you people out there going, you held plank for a minute, so what? I held plank with over a 1/6 of a ton for a minute. So that's something.
It's all about your point of view and your reference.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had a mild celebration when I sat in a chair. I had lost enough weight that there was this chair I couldn't sit in, and then I did, and it was a big deal to me. So anyway, so Monty Python's final show will be broadcast to theaters around the world.
Wow.
Yes, on July 20th, the 5 remaining members of Monty Python, it's called The Last Night of Monty Python, subtitled Until We Need More Money and Do This Again Later On, will be streamed live to 1,500 theaters around the world. So I'm looking, I want to find a theater and I want to go. So I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's almost sad. I mean, if it is the last show ever, that makes me sad to say, but it's cool that they've been around for so long.
Yeah, I mean, we're too young to know Monty Python, really. They've just been around that long.
Yeah.
So-
I own the complete DVD set of Monty Python and the Flying Circus. That's one of my treasured possessions. So you will not steal. And the first DVD I ever purchased for myself was Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So
that one is still among my top 5 favorite movies ever.
especially the bonus features and watching it in Lego. They are the ones who started Lego.
Nice.
And okay, thoughts on online games, Chris? What's that about?
That's for me. I've been playing a game just recently called Warframe, and it's an online free-to-play game. But what it comes down to, I've been playing it now for about a week, and yeah, it's free to play. You can play as much as you want without any interruptions. There's no banner saying to pay up for anything.
But to get anything good, you have to pay for it?
You have to pay for it,
Yeah.
and it's fairly expensive to pay for any of it. So now the question I always raise, is this a good model? I mean, yeah, I get your game out there, but really pay to win? I mean, right now I can't even finish a couple of the objectives on a couple of different of the maps because I don't have enough either offensive attack power or defensive staying power to finish the round.
Well,
So,
what's that game? See, I'm so not a
Candy
gamer.
Crush.
No, that's not the one. What's the game where you mine gold? Which one is that?
Warcraft.
Minecraft?
Or
Minecraft.
no,
No,
No.
Warcraft. World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
That's the
Okay.
one. So you can mine gold for tedious hours doing nothing to get stuff, to get special powers, to do things, or you can buy the gold. And so there's this whole market created around selling Warcraft items and that sort of thing. So obviously the model works. Is it a
Right,
good
well-
model? I don't know. Candy Crush is another example. You can play so far, and then you can have to wait 24 hours unless you want to pay.
Well, let's see, like this one, there is no way to get the paid credits. So, like, if you wanted to grind out missions in order to save up to buy the thing, you can. But
Right.
in this game, you can't. It's only a pay model.
So there is no mechanism to get there from here without putting money into
Not
it.
that I've been able to find. Like I said, I've only been playing for about a week now, so maybe I just haven't found that one level that gives you, if you constantly grind it out, you can get the pay credits. But it's a fun game. I love playing it, but I don't know. This is one of those times where it's like, if it would have been one of those things where you pay $60 to get a AAA game and everything's open for you right away, or this free-to-play model, I would choose the $60 model.
Yeah.
I would rather pay the $60, have access to all of the weapons and all of the shields and all of the blah blah blah, and then, or hell, I'd even pay $80 for that.
But you
But-
see, they'll charge you $1 here, $1 there, and before you realize it, you've spent $100, and so they come out ahead with
Yeah.
the freemium model because most people lack the self-control to say, "I'm done."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, that's my point.
and you have to look at, for every guy like you, Chris, there's 10 guys like me. I'm not going to pay $80 for a game ever. Just not going to do it. So the only way they're going to get me in their ecosystem at all is to make it free. So then maybe I get hooked, and then maybe I pay a few bucks here and there.
I
But
guess.
the sticker shock for the hardcore gamer, that's okay. You guys are used to paying $50, $60, $70 a game. It's not a big deal. The casual gamer, that is just, that might as well be $1 billion. They're not going to do
Yeah.
it.
I guess for me, when it comes to because like my only real, I don't go watch movies all the time. I don't really have any other vice other than video gaming. I don't drink. I don't do anything else like that. So my only thing that I do is for entertainment is game. So for me, $80, which will last me for, what was the last game I paid $80 for? $60 plus the downloadable content. It was about $87 by the time it was all done. I've been playing that for almost a year.
Yeah.
So for $80 for a year's worth of entertainment, that's a pretty cheap entry for me.
Yeah, but it's not one I would ever do. So I think there's more people like me than there are like you. People
Could
who
be.
say, I already spent $500 on my Xbox One. Why would I spend another $80 on this game? And then again,
Yeah.
maybe I've got that totally backwards. Maybe the kind of person who will spend $500 on an Xbox One is already in that and is just going to shuck out money. But I know, I have it's $300 phone. And I shucked out $300 for the phone, but anytime an app comes up for 99 cents, I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. That's a little steep. It's just it's weird. People are weird like that.
Yeah.
So
I guess I'm not in that eco as much as you are when it comes to tightwadness, I guess. For me, if it's serving a purpose and it's on my tablet, I've paid $10 for a couple of the apps that are on my tablet, but they're apps that I've used every day and have made money on because I had those apps installed.
Well, you're making that teacher money up there north. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We all know that people who work in public education are just filthy rich.
I don't know.
And that's why I have a secondary job out of my house, right Mark?
As most teachers do, actually. Seth, you were saying?
No, I was just gonna say I don't know how many servants Chris has being working in the technology sector for education up there.
Yeah. I
Okay.
wish.
Okay, that's enough of our blathering. Let's listen to you guys blather, and that happens in the form of listener feedback. Guillaume has some VoIP suggestions. He says, "Hello, Mark. For your Google Voice problem, I suggest you take a look at VoIP.ms. Their website is horrible, but their product and pricing is good. It's supposed to work with the Obi." And I think it can do everything else you wanted regarding number transfers and spoofing also. You have to set up pretty much everything yourself, so you can enjoy a lot of geeky evenings full of head-scratching problem solving and tweaking. Note also that you can try it and ask for a refund if you don't like it. Regards, Guillaume. I have looked at VoIP.ms, and it's probably the one I will go with. The only thing I don't like about it is it's a pay-per-minute model. It's cheap. It's a penny a minute or even less. So it's cheap, but I like things to be predictable, and I don't want my kid to run up a $75 phone bill, which she could easily do. So that's my only issue about that. I would rather have a flat rate plan. That's the only reason I haven't already pulled the trigger on VoIP.ms. Frank writes in on the same subject, and he's fond of Ooma. Says, "Hi, Mark. Been listening for a while. Great show. In reference to your quest for cheap phone service, I use Ooma. I've been using this service for 3 years now, and outside the occasional unexplained disconnect, I cannot complain. I purchased the device refurbished for $100 and spent $40 on the port of a previous number, and I've only paid $5 a month since. They say it's for taxes. The initial charge is a little steep, but after plugging it into my inside wiring, it's easy as pie for the wife and children. Hope this helps. Frank, if you do decide to sign up, maybe you could use a referral code." And I'll put that out there. It's capital B, capital U, capital C, 8159. So if anybody else wants to sign up for Ooma, there's Frank's code. I don't know what it gets him, but hey, he put that there, and I'm gonna make it known. So Ooma, again, heard great things about it. I just am reluctant to buy yet another device when I have a perfectly good device. So these are the things I have to decide in the next 2 weeks, because my support is going away in the 2 weeks. And realistically, I think what's going to happen is we're just not going to have a home phone. I think it's just going to go away. Because we just don't use it that often.
Well, yeah, if you're not using it that often, then I can understand it going away, or maybe training her how to use the Google Voice through the internet line.
Yeah. Right, you could always do that. You could make the call, and then Google Voice would call you back on your own OBI number. That's all doable. It's just, I don't know. Haven't made that decision yet. I'm just surprised that the geeks haven't come up with a solution.
Well, you could always set up your own. What's that called?
PBX.
Yeah.
Yeah. Open PBX. What is that called? Good grief.
Yeah, I can't.
Just
remember.
install an Asterisk server.
That's it. Asterisk.
That's it.
That's the one. And I've considered that, but again, you got to have the number in from somebody, and that's essentially what an OBI is. It's a cheap, dumb asterisk box, but you got to get somebody to give you a dial tone. And I know somebody said last week I'm asking for a lot. I am. I know I may not get it, but there's no harm in asking for it. Okay, moving.
I think the only reason that we think that is a lot is because a lot of us are of the age where we remember how expensive and complex just the regular old phone system was. I mean, go back in time and just realize that you are walking around with a supremely powerful computer in the palm of your hand, and you buy them as cheap throwaway toys for your kids. And that's a computer that is mighty powerful in terms of historical processing power.
Absolutely.
So I don't think we're asking for a lot. It's just they refuse to give it to us.
I was having a Skype conversation with a friend of mine in England while driving down the road at 70 miles an hour one day, and I just had one of those holy crap moments. It was like, what am I doing? I am speaking. I am for no cost. I am speaking via my 4G over Skype to somebody in 6 time zones away at 70 miles an hour
across an ocean.
Yes. And complaining that there was a couple of echoes here and there. It's every now and then I have to step back and say, "Wow, look at where we are." Seth, that's a good reminder. Like the astronauts who landed on the moon did so with less power, less computing power that's in the average digital watch. So we've come a long, long way.
Yeah, we have.
Yep.
Okay. Next, Guillaume writes in after that. He says, I just sent you a message and I could verify my previous experience. Is it normal that there's a second capture after the marked clever ones? The second is a normal one with weird numbers and letters. I haven't seen that. So, audience, tell me, is that happening? Because when I do it, I'm not seeing 2 captchas. Is it something weird with him? Is there something I've got set up wrong? Let me know. And Jim writes in, and it's pertinent. He writes in about keyboards. He says, thanks for the great shows. Here are a couple of thoughts from last week's show, number 141. I don't, nor have I ever believed that the desktop is going away. I've always believed that technology evolves, and what we know as the desktop will be around in different forms, doing different tasks. There are enough uses for different platforms that most will evolve more than go away. I think eventually that the market will tell most of the vendors, except Apple, what they want. It may already be happening with Windows 8.1 Update 1. Last year, I purchased a tablet. I wanted something smaller than a laptop that I could record quick, short notes with minimal time spent. One of my concerns was typing on the screen, so I purchased an Asus model that would allow me to add a keyboard later if I wanted. I did so a week later, which also had the added feature of protecting the screen as well as the added battery capacity. This is what works for me. Once again, for my purchase, there was an option out there that fit what I needed. You might not have purchased this without that option being available. And why do I need a keyboard? As I'm typing this, I'm texting back and forth with my 14-year-old granddaughter who just got a phone for her birthday. I'm getting this done faster on the keyboard than I can text back to her on my Android phone. Sheesh, the things I put up with for grandchildren. And then he says, once again, having trouble with the CAPTCHA. So there's 2 people. Clearly, there's something wrong with my CAPTCHAs that I can't see.
Uh-oh. Maybe if somebody could, they could do a screen recording of it, so that way they could send it to you and you could see it.
Right. That might help.
Yeah, or go like incognito mode
I've
or
done that.
Private browsing. Really?
I've done that. And I don't see it. Maybe I need to, tail some log files or something. I don't know. Something's going on that I don't see.
Maybe a different browser? I'll try it in a different browser because I pretty much only go to it in Firefox. I might pull out the venerable plague-filled IE, see what happens.
I don't think anybody in our audience was using IE as they wrote to us.
I might go Chrome, just to. We'll see. Try a couple of different things. See, because it'll tell us is it browser specific? Because maybe it's some weird plugin you have on your browsers.
So Jim is in agreement with me that the keyboard is still the best way to do things.
Amen.
And I think we all on this show agree that that's the case. But it's obviously somebody doesn't agree with that, and that somebody, those somebodies, are the ones making the decisions. So, maybe we're just we're the outliers. I was on a totally secondary note today. I was trying to run SpinRite on this disk, trying to get it fixed, and I have another cheap laptop that I was trying to run it on because I could pop the card out, pop the back off, and put the drive in easily. It had a UEFI BIOS. Well, that's like saying it had an Apple Orange. It had a UEFI system rather than a BIOS, but it didn't have a legacy mode, so I couldn't even boot from USB or CD-ROM on that one. Another thing I think is it's totally stupid, but as I understand it, it's becoming more the norm. Let's just ignore the fact that this is the way people still do things, and pretend that we can make them do the way we want them to do.
Well, it's the tabletification of the OS, because nobody tinkers with their thing. It's the tyranny of the default.
Right. So short of reflashing the system, I don't even know what to say. It's not BIOS. Short of reflashing the bootstrapping system, there's no way I'll ever be able to boot that laptop from either a USB or a CD-ROM ISO.
So there's no way in the BIOS to do a manual boot option?
Nope, not there.
Pick it? Huh.
I mean, you can do it. You can pick it, but the CD-ROM doesn't show up. The only thing that shows up is the hard drive.
Crazy. Is there maybe an update for it?
Again, I'm sure I could reflash the BIOS. That's what the update would have to be. That's the only way you update. Again, it's not a BIOS. Mm-hmm. What is it? It's the onboard system.
Firmware.
Yeah, the firmware. I could reflash the firmware, but that's something I might do. But that's not something 87% of the people buying this laptop is going to do.
Right.
And it came with Windows 8, Secure Boot, that whole thing. It was just a cheap $250 one I bought for the kids to do their homework on.
Right.
And I remembered, I can pop the case off of that one really easily. I don't have to disassemble a whole thing. And I can put the drive in. I did that. And then I plugged in. It didn't come with a CD-ROM on it. I plugged in an external CD-ROM, and I couldn't boot from it. Wasn't an option. So it is that thing. We're turning computers into toasters. When was the last time anybody took apart a toaster? It gets cluttered with crumbs and burns out. You throw it away and buy another one because they're $12. And that's what computers are becoming. And I don't like it. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah. I guess I'm still building most of my machines from scratch,
right.
So...
Can't really do that with a laptop, though, or a tablet.
No, right. A laptop and a tablet you can't do, but my desktop is still built from scratch, and I'll probably continue to build my desktops.
And so...
as long as there's desktops, if they have their way, there'll be no more desktops. Just a little stand to plug your tablet in. Or plug your jack from the table to your brain, because we won't even need tablets anymore.
Oh, I love that. I asked Chris to not let me skip over this next section, so he's highlighting it. He's rotating through the colors, blinking at red, blue, and green, and yellow. Okay, I will see it. So last week, one of our listeners named Addie wrote us an email, and we all responded to it. And I got a second email from Addie this week. I'm not going to read that one because it was rather personal in nature. I will simply say this. At no point did I intend for our response to him to be personal in any way. I didn't intend for it to be an attack. I'm not mad at him now. I wasn't mad at him then. As far as I know, I've never been mad at him. I apologize if I spoke in such a way that you found offensive, and I will simply leave it at that.
I'll second that, Addie. It was not intentional to make you feel like we singled you out. We were just stating our opinions.
All right, and so
yeah, definitely, me too.
Yeah, and these guys didn't read the email. They don't know what I'm referring to. They don't want to be. It's okay if you're offensive personally. I don't mind intentionally being offensive. It's when I'm unintentionally offensive that's a problem. I didn't mean to be. So I'm not going to say any more about that. My apologies if you were personally injured. Moving on, Rick comments on my continuing tech-tastrophes. He says, Mark, last week you mentioned that you had a series of electronic failures. It would be worth getting the voltage levels in your place checked out. I had a similar problem a few years ago, costing me 3 TVs in a year. The first was old, the second was cheap and used, so no great surprise for either of those. When the third one died, it went to the TV doctor. Several capacitors had failed, and the tech said it indicated a drop in voltage, a brownout. The drop in voltage causes an increase in current to keep the wattage stable, burning out the components. You can have your power company put a 24/7 monitor on it, usually at no charge. If the problem is on their end, they'll fix it. As a temporary or additional fix, you should run any electronics that you value on a UPS. This keeps the system voltage steady, even if the supply of voltage fluctuates. Hope this helps. So, Rick, I read that for the audience because that's good advice, and somebody else might run into it. None of that is appropriate to what my problems have been. My problems have been I'm running on old cheap stuff, and they've all just aged out. The home theater PC died. I took it apart after the show, and the fan, after running 24/7 for 6 years, had sucked in so much dust that it froze. I mean, I blow it out periodically, but it just wasn't enough. And finally enough had accumulated around the middle of it that it locked up. The fan stopped working. That caused the processor to overheat, which in turn cooked the hard drive. So that voltage is not going to fix that. And the other one was just a drive that had been running a long time. And so I don't think that's again, because it was a USB enclosure, the PC is going to regulate the voltage going to that. So nothing significant is going to pass through the PC to that USB thing. Even if the PC is undervolted or overvolted, it would regulate that. So again, good advice. I just don't think it applies to me.
Yeah, well, and the one thing that I never really ever thought of is to have the power company ever monitor my power, so that way I could eliminate that as a possible problem. I think I have a couple of clients I'm going to have to call now and see if they're having issues and have them do that.
Yeah, we had an issue where I used to work a long time ago, where we had stuff every time there was a storm of any kind, this particular device, whatever was plugged into that area, would die, and it wouldn't be the power side of it, but the Ethernet. It would blow the phone or the computer or the NIC or whatever. And when we traced it back, we found out that years ago, when the copper had been run, they ran it over a plumbing line, underground over a plumbing line, and apparently that was getting enough static, or it was near something, and so we rerouted that and never had a problem. So there are things like that can happen, 15 years, 20 years earlier, that can cause weird things to happen. So when you start seeing a pattern like that, Rick brings up good idea. Brings up good idea. I suddenly became a non-English speaking person. Rick brings up a good idea for troubleshooting.
Rick sounded smart today.
He's a smart guy. Andy offers a word of thanks. Now this is really long and doesn't apply to this show or any of our people in any way, but I wanted to read it because I think more of this sort of stuff needs to happen. He says, I've been using Linux for just over a year, and after using both LMDE Cinnamon and Crunchbang for several months, I have settled on Peppermint OS 32-bit. It fits my needs perfectly and runs beautifully with my old Fujitsu notebook. I'm not putting down either LMDE or Crunchbang. Both are very fine distros. I will put Crunchbang on another machine when I manage to find a more suitable candidate. I think that the thing that defines a distribution is the level and quality of support you receive. Based on this premise, the Peppermint Community Forum is an unsung hero in the Linux world. There's one reason that makes this so special, and he's called PC NetSpeak, a.k.a. Mark Greaves. He's one of the chief moderators, and he's quite frankly an incredible fountain of knowledge. Check out this link to the new forum, and I'll put that in the notes, and look at the solutions he provides and the way that they are provided. If you have a problem with your system or you don't understand something, you can rely on PC NetSpec. He will answer your question in language that a complete noob will easily understand. He's more than willing to take time to walk you through a solution and test it with you. The man has almost infinite patience and obviously rarely sleeps, hence his alternate handle PC No Sleep. It doesn't matter what hardware you're running. he will come up with a solution in what appears to be the blink of an eye. As I said, he's incredible. It's really interesting just to have the forum open and watch questions come in and solutions go out. PC NetSpec adheres to Peppermint's philosophy of being user-friendly and fun. This is exactly what Peppermint OS delivers to its users. In the next few weeks, the new Peppermint OS 5 will be released. I, for one, hope that it's as good as its predecessor. It's in beta testing at the moment, and we've been dropped a few tantalizing teasers. The user forums are many times the first point of contact for the Linux noob. Being told sarcastically to read this and or that or point at a link just to get on with it is not help. This cavalier attitude just drives people away from Linux. I wanted to mention PC NetSpec as he is the complete antithesis of this. He's an amazing asset to the Peppermint OS team. I think I can say with confidence that everyone who has ever received his help will agree how lucky we are as a community to have him around. Not enough praise is given to people like Mark, who selflessly give their time and share their vast knowledge with us, very grateful Linux plebes. I suggest that everyone, irrespective of what distro you are using, to publicly thank people like PC NetSpec. Thank you, PC NetSpec, a.k.a. Mark Greaves, for all the hard work and effort you have and continue to give to Peppermint OS and to the Linux community as a whole. You've made my transition to Linux very pleasant and very interesting. Keep up the good work, guys. I'm waiting with bated breath for the next trip into the alternative reality that is EDL. Breakfast on Wednesdays consists of rich, dark Frisian bread with pumpkin seeds, ham aged light in cheese, like Gouda, but with cumin seeds in it, a pot of good Dutch coffee, a grapefruit, and the EDL podcast. Now that's what I call the breakfast of champions. Regards, Andy. And he didn't say regards, he said groetjes, which I had to look up, and it's Danish for regards. So there you go.
All I can say is now we're going to have to go blackball PC NetSpeak from the Linux community for being far too nice to everyone.
He's giving the neckbeards a bad name out there. One of my pet peeves isn't the right word. One of my greatest frustrations is when I'm searching for help on a forum and you get a guy either saying that the question is stupid or giving some true thing that isn't an answer to the question. Those two things really make me mad. If you don't have an answer to the question, don't respond to the forum. Leave it alone. Yeah. But, you'll have a guy say, I'm looking to run my LCD TV off of my DVI port on my compact laptop, and some idiot would say, well, why would you want to do that? Use HDMI. It's so much better. That wasn't the question. Stop doing crap like that. So when Andy wrote in with the praise of Mark Greaves, I totally wanted to read that because that's the kind of people we want our listeners to be. We hope we are making that kind of listener in the world.
Definitely. I do have to make a comment about how funny it is to see a forum where like the last posted for every line is this guy.
He's busy.
That must be all he does for the team. He is the community guy, because there's no way. Well, I guess there could be a way, but that's an immense amount of work to take care of all of those users that way. I'll tip my hat to him because I tried to be that guy, but you bring a whole new level when you're answering that many forum posts that in detail and that well.
I think PC NetSpeak was the original title of Super Forum Dude, and there's actually a team of people who take turns logging in under that name because nobody can do all of that.
That could be too. I know a couple of different forums that have a administrator user that takes care of support like that. It's possible, but from the ones I read, it's written the same way. So yeah. I would guess it's the same guy.
It's kind of like Green Lantern in the DC universe. There's been many different ones. The only thing is they have the ring, and so that you've inherited. You're the new PC NetSpeak. Go forth and shine the praises of our community.
I am not the Dread Pirate Roberts either. His name was Cumberbund, and he's been retired and living in Patagonia for years. Mark Greaves has just figured out how to clone himself. That's the answer. Clearly, you guys are missing the boat.
He probably did that with a custom Linux distro he rolled. So.
What happens if you plug Clonezilla into your mouth? It clones you.
Oh gosh, there we go.
Oh, okay. Moving on to our next bit of listener feedback. Chad wants to know, how's the pie? Hey, Mark, Seth, and Chris. I love listening to the podcast. I've listened to every episode, really love the whole burping Seth episode, and eagerly await each new episode to be released. I'm like a kid at Christmas, waiting to tear into the shiny wrapped package. I really love Seth's jabs at OS X 10 and anything Apple-related for that matter. I also have to mention that I'm very jealous of Chris for the simple fact that he lives in what I consider to be one of the most beautiful and picturesque states in America. My wife and I honeymooned.
Chad is smart. I just gotta say, he sounds like an awesome dude. Sorry. Back to the email. Mark.
My wife and I honeymooned in Whitefish, Montana, a few years ago, and we both fell in love with it. But I digress. On to the point of my writing. I just finished episode 141, and I'm very interested in when Mark said he was going to be trying his new use as his new home theater PC. I, too, have a Raspberry Pi that I'm wanting to use for my home theater PC, and I'm not sure about a few things. Is Mark planning on using RaspBMC or OpenELEC as the operating system of choice for the Pi? I've ripped a bunch of my Blu-rays to external hard drive, and I'm not quite sure what the best option is for accessing them on my Pi. I've thought about just installing a USB hub and connecting the external drives to it and then to my Pi, or I was thinking about building or buying a NAS and streaming it to the Pi. I plan on having a Pi for each TV in the house, so maybe the NAS idea would work better. Problem is, I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to setting up a NAS or even know how to network stuff on my own network. Did that sound as confusing to you as it did to me? Anyway, I'm really looking forward to hearing how Mark sets up his Raspberry Pi and any kind of tips, tricks, advice any of you guys could give that would be greatly appreciated. Thanks for making such an awesome podcast. Keep up the great work. By the way, eat more bacon. It does a body good. Take care, guys. Chad.
Nice.
And then I'm before I answer that, I'm going to read the next email from Steven, who likes his Pi with a side of Roku. It says, hello, I've been listening to your shows for a while and I love all Linux. No Linux and no bacon. Wait, let me try that again. Been listening to your show for a while now, and I love it all. Linux, no Linux, bacon, no bacon. Your show simply kicks the llama's butt. Anyway, in the last episode, Mark mentioned that he was moving to the Raspberry Pi to replace his home theater PC. Awesome! I personally use a Roku, but I use a Raspberry Pi as my primary home server. I used to have a beefy desktop box with Ubuntu and a bunch of virtual servers. Now it's just the Pi and an internal self-powered hard drive. My suggestion is to use the mini DNLA on the second Pi you just ordered and let it serve out your media to the new XBMC flavored Pi in the living room. One more thing, install Webmin on all your Pi devices for easy access. You can even link them if you have more than one. You guys rock. Nothing better than a Linux podcast not about Linux with a couple of family-centric Christian dudes. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Okay, so I will talk about my experiences with the Pi. First off, let it be said, the Raspberry Pi is a little flaky. Okay, let's get that out of the way. I bought two right out of the box. One of them was damaged. Probably just a capacitor or an undervolted resistor or something like that. Anytime I did a soft or hard reboot, it would freeze and do a kernel panic, and you'd get on the RaspBMC, which I'm using to answer that question, you'd get a graphical rainbow test pattern, and it would freeze there. I figured out over time, if you unplug it for a while and leave it for like a couple of hours, it would come back, and it would be fine until you tried to reboot it. Even if you did a standard, everyday, normal shutdown with everything performing normally, it still would hang up. If you did a reboot, it would hang up. If you did a hard pull the plug, it would hang up. Leave it 6-7 hours or overnight, it would come back. And it would work fine until you reboot. So clearly there's something in the boot cycle. There's something that's not right. I returned that Pi, got another one. Thank you, Amazon Prime, for being as awesome as you are. And so I had the second one to back it up. I bought RaspBMC on a pre-programmed SD card. You can get those for like $9. I figured it was totally worth it for me not to have to do it. What I bought was from it was a kit. You can find it on elementop.com/Amazon, and it comes with the Pi, it comes with a case, it comes with the SD card, comes with the power supply. The case is 2 pieces. You drop the board in it, you pop the top on the case, you plug in the SD card, you're done. The SD card comes with, I think it was 7 different distros loaded on it, and if you wanted more, it had scripts to download it. So that was pretty awesome. The one downstairs is plugged into Ethernet, 100 meg Ethernet, maybe gigabit. I'm not sure. I think, yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, so there were no drivers, no issues to deal with there. I just plugged in and it worked. It was beautiful. Because I use RaspBMC, the XBMC thing popped up. I plugged in my external hard drives, added the source. Anybody who's used XBMC knows how to do that. You go to the menu, you add source, and it started cataloging them all. Probably what killed my drive, actually. Scanning all those things and downloading cover art and all of that is pretty drive intensive. It was beautiful. It worked awesome. The scrolling, getting around in the Pi on my 1080p display is a little cumbersome. Before on my PC, my Ion processor, I could just and scan through. This one, it's click, 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 click. And when you're going through 300 movies, it can take you a while to get to the bottom. That's a little annoying. That's really the only bad thing I have to say about the performance of it. Once you're in, everything's hard-coded, right? So I pick an MP4, the integrated chip kicks in, it's all happening hardware level, it's smooth, it's fluid, it's butter. So then I went into the settings on the RaspBMC settings, and I turned on UPnP sharing. Don't get scared, it's only internal. I have UPnP turned off on my firewall. I went upstairs, I hooked up the second Pi. I bought a little Edimax was the name, Wi-Fi nub, plugged into that one, and I chose that brand because it's got kernel support built into RaspBMC. Plugged that thing in, told it to search for UPnP sources. It found it, said load that library, boom, now all my stuff is on that one. Plays like butter, streams without any problems at all. I can have one Pi downstairs watching a movie and the other Pi upstairs watching a different movie. I haven't tried the same movie. Watching a different movie, and no stuttering, no buffering. Beautiful. It's awesome.
Cool.
I start it at one place, pause it, go downstairs. It remembers where I was and asks me to resume at the same location. Pretty darn amazing. Cool. All with almost zero configuration, almost no setup. Also, just out of curiosity, I put some stuff on a Samba, on a Windows share on one of my other computers, accessed it with the built-in Samba installation. Fine. It found them. It loaded them to the library, streams them without any issues. I just have regular, I think it's 802.11n, but it would probably work fine over G. It doesn't take that much. And I was so amazed at how well it worked. Other than the few little flaky things, like the initial setup process on my TV downstairs, several of the dialog boxes would pop up off the screen. I would see like the bottom left corner of it, and I would just have to guess that it was wanting me to hit enter. So just little things like that. But once it's up and running, once you get past the initial flakiness of just installing something on a Pi, I've been just blown away by it. In fact, the upscaling and the video performance is better than on the PC that I had it on. The Intel Ion chipset. This is better. Again, the performance is a little wonky, just a little. It's just enough to be annoying, though. But if you have a smaller library than I do, it probably won't be an issue. Interestingly, upstairs, that TV is only capable of 1080i resolution instead of 1080p. Maybe that's it. It scrolls through much faster. So it's something specific, and I swapped the boxes to see if that was it. And the performance stayed with the TV. So it has something to do with the display. Maybe the Pi is actually scrolling a lot faster, but this TV for some reason can't update. I don't know. That's just my experience with it.
Do you have an option to turn your 1080p to 1080i just to see?
I did that in the TV auto senses. I did that in the Pi. I went all the way down to 720, and it didn't make a significant difference. So it's not a resolution thing. It's something specific to, maybe it's a bad cable. I don't know. It's not annoying enough that I've really dived into it. I also bought a little, I wish I had the brand name in front of me, wireless keyboard and mouse integrated. I didn't realize it was 4 inches square. I thought it was a full-size one when I bought it. But when it came, I was actually quite pleased with that. It's a little thumb board. It comes with a little. It's not Bluetooth. It's 2.4 gigahertz FM. So I plug that USB dongle in, and I've got a full keyboard and mouse. And frankly, I liked it so much I bought another one for upstairs as well. So that I recommend getting that. It's $14 on Amazon.
That's not bad.
For upstairs, I didn't have a remote sensor. For downstairs, I had one that I bought years ago. I bought, again, it's like $4 on Amazon. It's called China Vision, and it's a remote that comes with just an infrared USB sensor. Throw the remote away, program my Logitech Harmony remote, and now I can control the whole thing with the remote. With one exception, to get into the context menu of anything, like if you want to update a movie or update the library or whatever, you have to hit the C key on the keyboard, and my mouse can't emulate a C key, so I have to go pull out that little keyboard just to hit C and do what I need to do. That's, maybe if I got a smarter device than the little China Vision one, I would be able to emulate a C, or maybe if I go in and write some custom key map settings, I'll be able to do that. But just out of the box, you can't interact with it fully using only the mouse. You have to have keyboard stuff. So if your infrared sensor only emulates a mouse, you're going to have to grab a keyboard or fire up the built-in VNC server in RaspBMC and attach to it on your laptop, which I have done.
Right.
So those are my experiences with the Pi. I've only had it a few days. I think I got it Wednesday of this week. Today is Sunday. So I've had 4 days, to play with it, and unfortunately a lot of that has been taken up with the fact that that's when my hard drive chose to die, and I've been re-ripping media. But I'm blown away by how smooth it is. It is so good and so simple. It really is grandma approved.
Cool.
You have to know what UPnP is. Some of the language is still geeky, but the navigating the menus, the clicking the button to turn it on is all super easy. If they would just straighten their language out a little and make it a little more grandma approved, I really think that would be something like the Roku that you could just throw in anybody's box. So to answer your question, Chad, throw those things on a USB hub. Get a powered USB hub, because the Pi itself can only take like a phone power, and it uses a full amp to do its thing. So if you try to hang a couple of hard drives on there that want 500 milliamps themselves, then you're not gonna have enough power to do that. So I bought a powered hub for $6. And I've got all my hard drives plugged into that, and it works beautifully. So there's my Pi experience.
Well, that's a pretty good experience, I would say.
Yeah. Better than I expected, frankly. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. And it's so including the Wi-Fi dongle and the kit with the case and everything was, I think, $60. Then I threw in the Wi-Fi dongle plus the keyboard. That's another $30. And if you want the sensor too, that's another we'll call it $10. So for $100, you can throw a media center in every room of your house. Now, some people would point out a Roku is $40, and maybe the Roku can do all of that stuff too. I don't know. I wanted to try the Pi, so I only have 2 TVs in the house, but when or if I buy another TV, I'll buy another Pi to go with it. It's just that good.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome to hear you that it works so well for you, Mark. That's awesome.
Yeah, and so maybe we need to have some of those guys on and talk about that stuff.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
Okay, we have one more bit of listener feedback as we hit the 1 hour mark of the show. Merrick, I'm going to say that's how he pronounces it, offers a bit of Polish pedantry. He says, if I was not Polish, I would not complain, but I am, so here goes. The official way to pronounce MySQL is MySQL, not MySQL. But we don't mind if you pronounce it as MySQL or in some other localized way. These are the last two lines of the what is MySQL document. I've checked that page a year or so ago, and I don't remember the we don't mind part. I don't know who started pronouncing SQL as SQL, and for the first couple of times I heard it, it made me laugh. But after a few years, it makes me think somebody doesn't know what he's talking about. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Sequels are in movie franchises. I really can't find any relation of sequels to databases. It really makes my hair stand on my back when a new job agent asks me if I have any experience with MySQL. And I always reply, no, but I have in MySQL. I feel I should reply, anyway. No, how many sequels do you have? I'm wondering if there's any more widespread mispronunciations like that in Linux. By the way, 133 episodes listened through. Please keep them coming.
Wow. Wait till he hears my OS X10 rant.
So, if I was in a job interview and the dude asked me if I had SQL support, I would not correct him and say I have SQL support. And I'm a fairly pedantic kind of guy. But I think there are times when you leave that at home, and in the job interview office might be one of those. So, Merrick, hats off to you for that one, I suppose. I'm not really sure what the proper thing to say to that is.
No, I think that kind of depends on personality, because if you do that right, you come off as sounding intelligent, that you know there is a distinction and that you're somewhat passionate about it because you care enough to make that distinction known. But if the personality isn't right, then it's just another get out of here, you've lost me, this interview's over. So, you know.
I don't agree. I think either way you come off sounding like a jerk.
Yeah, well, and it depends on how well you have if you have a great repertoire with the interviewer, like maybe you know him outside of work, then I would say you could probably get away with it, but I don't know if I would do it.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
It just seemed
Thank
like
you for not letting that go. Thank you.
I did that on purpose.
Now, okay. Chris is the king of the malapropism. He frequently says that which he does not mean and means that which he does not say. But I first heard SQL referred to as SQL the same time I first heard of SQL. I mean, it's been around a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's easier to say SQL than SQL. Or, you know, do you I have no comment on that. It's an industry standard thing that is widely accepted, and it's not just MySQL. It's Microsoft SQL. It's Postgres SQL. People even say that, even though that's not it. It's PostgreSQL, but people say Postgres SQL.
Or non-sequels.
Yeah.
You know.
So, you know, maybe that's like me ranting against the keyboard. It's get over it, Mark. Get over it, Merrick. Maybe that's the internet's way of telling both of us it's time to just shut up. I don't know. So, I mean, have you guys ever not heard somebody call it SQL? I mean, have you ever met somebody who only says SQL?
Both of them sound familiar to me, so I can't say I remember when I met Joe and he wouldn't say anything but SQL the whole time I talked to him. But you know, I actually took an Oracle database class, and we were in, and there was no big rant made about this is SQL and the first person who says SQL gets kicked out of class. So there was none of that. So I don't really think the industry cares. At least it hasn't been made known to me that the industry cares. And again, not that I'm some super bulwark of technology.
Yeah.
I don't Yeah, I'm racking my brain to see if I can think of anybody, but I know everyone I know I know a couple people that have that are database guys who definitely say my SQL, but when you refer to it as MySQL, they don't jump out of their skin. So no, I don't think. I think those that care are the ones that do the MySQL, and the ones that don't care just kind of roll with it.
Now, to answer your question there that you ended with, are there other mispronunciations like that? You don't have to go any further than Ubuntu, Ubuntu to find one of those.
Or even Linux, for that matter.
Yeah, Linux. I guess some people call it that.
GNU/Linux. Thank you very much. The whole industry mispronounces that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's well-rounded everywhere that there's people who mispronounce everything.
Now, I try to be, if there is one way to say it, I try to say it that one way. For example, Ubuntu, there is a correct way to say it. All three groups of O's have the same sound. It's not Ubuntu, where each one has its own separate sound. They're all the same, Ubuntu. So I try to be correct about that, but it never even occurred to me that people would be bothered by MySQL. That honestly, Merrick, you caught me off guard with that. But even then, you go back and you look at their page, and they say, we don't mind. So they're even saying that it's not a big deal. But now that you've called me on the carpet, I'll probably go back to saying MySQL all the time.
Yeah, I wonder if the whole new/GNU is out there.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's GNOME versus GNOME. I hear that all the time. And if it is GNU, then it probably should be GNOME. But I say GNOME and GNU. So maybe I'm inconsistent in my own pronunciations.
Gonna have to get my knife out.
Oh man!
Personally, I don't care. As long as I know what you're talking about, you could call it a dilly dang doong, and I wouldn't mind.
So I have a 5-year-old, and we're in the process of language has been acquired. Now we're in the process of refining that. And just this morning, we had the conversation about make versus made, bake versus baked, and take versus took. How do you explain to a 5-year-old why taked is not correct when baked is?
Yes.
Welcome to the English language.
Yes.
Just find one of those jokes about, the deer, desert, dessert kind of thing, and just start, make them read those every day. Or go with Hooked on Phonics and give up.
Yeah, Hooked on Phonetics worked for me. But there are weirdnesses in language, and then when you get into this global community of people who don't speak the same language natively, making up new words, then you get a real mess.
Yeah.
Well, and then when you throw in idioms on top of it,
yeah.
Somebody who knows the language but doesn't understand the idioms, throwing in the towel means quit. You've got to know boxing to know that, and that just gets a whole. I don't know why we got on this topic, so I'm sorry.
So Hussein in the chat room, this made me laugh. He says, "I bet Merrick has a beard because he sounds like a typical Linux nerd." Hey, I have a beard.
I have a beard,
and I'm a Linux nerd. So
back
whatever.
off the beard.
I don't shave on the weekend, so I have what looks like a dirty face.
Okay, so that's I don't have anything to follow up on that. Merrick, your complaint has been duly registered. I will contact the president of the internet and let him go. Let him know. Thanks for listening to 133 episodes. Really, when you get that far back, it's probably time to stop anyway. Just.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't start with 1. I mean, if you did, I don't know how you made it to 2.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Really, any of them in the single digits, I don't know.
I would say up to 15 were pretty rough.
Maybe the double-digit ones.
Oh, okay. So now let's do an ad. We'll come back to that one in a second, Seth. If you want to learn the proper way to pronounce things, maybe Linux Academy is for you. I'm trying something here. Oh, here's a better one. If you don't know what all this SQL kerfuffle is about, and you don't know what MySQL even is, the linuxacademy.com is the place for you, because that's where you can learn all the ins and outs of being a Linux administrator. Their goal is to take you from being a noob, like I believe it was Chad referred to himself, and take you to be an administrator, a good old-fashioned netbeard like Merrick. If you want to go from point A to point B, the Linux Academy will take you there. How do they do that? They do that by the form of, it started out as videos. It's so much more than videos now. They have now over 200 step-by-step video courses taught by industry professionals, not just teachers, not just people who are putting together content, but actual people who do this stuff for a living and are making these videos. Real professionals. Their content has been certified by both EI, IA, or CompTIA rather, and the Linux Professional Institute. As being top quality content, and you go there and you start with a module. You pick what you want to learn, and it's all broken down into these modules. And you'll say start with the history of desktop Linux module, for example, and then you go there and you start listening, watching your way through the videos. Not only do you have the videos, but you also have the PDF study guides that go with them. You have the quizzes that go with them. You have the practice tests at the end of it. And you go through the end of this module, and everything is clearly laid out. It tells you this is what you can expect to learn. This is approximately how much time it's going to take you to do it. These are the tests that you're going to need to do at the end. And when you do all that, you know that stuff because you've been taught it well by high-class professionals. They now have all kinds of courses from everything from desktop Linux to command line Linux to setting up servers. They now have this thing, these lab features. It's additional price, and we'll talk pricing in a minute. But there's this extra set of classes where you have multiple virtual servers. Did I mention you have servers? Yes. You have servers that come along with this, not just the videos, not just the PDF study guides, but you can actually do this while you're watching the video. You can pause it. You can experiment right there with this lab that they provide, up to 8 servers that you can choose from. They install, they reboot instantly. They're on Amazon's cloud services, so they're super fast. And if you hose it, no big deal. You delete it and you start over again. But with these new labs that they have set up, you get more than one of those. So you can set up, for example, a client server setup, and you can set up a MySQL Apache LAMP stack on one and then access it on another, all in your own little private area there. It's secure. Nobody's going to mess with you, and you can experiment with that. But once you gotta get inside to do all that. And once you get inside, you're going to find that there's not just the videos. They're not just the classes. There's not just the quizzes, but there's also this thriving community inside the walls of the Linux Academy, and the instructors are part of that community. There's forums there where they go back and forth with the students. You ask them a question, they'll give you an answer. You make a suggestion, boom, there's a new video on it. All this amazing stuff, and it's only going to cost you $1 to get started. That's it. 14 days trial for $1. You walk in, you look around, you say, is this the place for me? And in that time, you can download videos, you can look at PDF study guides, you can play with the virtual servers for $1. And when you're done and you're sure you like it, and I know you're going to, really, let's just skip the trial because it's a waste of $1. Let's go straight to the monthly sign up. You want to sign up for 1 month only? You're not a commitment kind of guy, not ready to put a ring on it just yet? $25. You can go month to month for $25. But if you want to buy in bulk like anything else, the more you buy, the more you save. If you buy annually, that price goes down to $19 a month. $19 a month if you buy a year at a time. For some of the best learning on the internet. Not just me saying that now, that's CompTIA saying that as well. Some of the best content on the internet can be had for $19 a month. When you get there, when you sign up, and I know you're going to, so just do it, use the code EverydayLinux in the referral box. Let them know that you heard about it here. LinuxAcademy.com.
No, that's awesome, Mark. I went looking, of course, like I always do. I wait till you start the ad, and it's getting harder and harder to find prices. People are saying, fill out this information and give us your email address and we'll get back to you. But here's one for a Linux Plus course for $89. So for 90 days, you have $89. This will get you comparable up to a Linux Plus. And again, I'm not going to give out the name. So, that's 90 days. That's 3 months, $30 a month. Not bad. We're getting down close to Linux Academy prices, but again, it's just for Linux Plus. Linux Academy gives you that plus so much more.
There you go. Yeah. And a listener in the chat room said, does the Linux Academy pay you guys for 5 minutes? Actually, they pay us for 30 seconds, but I like them that much. So that's why you get a 5-minute ad. Sorry. There's too much to talk about. You can't do it all in 30 seconds.
No, you can't.
And plus, they get my money back. So,
Barrett could have grown a beard during that ad. Awesome. So, LinuxAcademy.com, we believe in them. That's why I give them so much airtime. Not because, trust me, my rates are cheap. They're not throwing money at me left and right. But I really believe in them. Their course values are the same as mine. And that's why I'm so bullish on them. They're not just a sponsor. Seth is a member. Seth pays their money, pays his money to them, and Seth doesn't pay for anything.
Nope, not really.
Anyway,
not if you can't buy it at a pawn shop. I probably won't buy it.
Okay, so that's it. We're now more than an hour into the show, and we haven't even hit the news section. But we want to go back to a follow-up from last week. Now your web browser can find Easter eggs for you. You don't even have to go find them anymore.
Yeah, we talked when we talked about Easter eggs, for our Easter extravaganza. There is now a plugin. If you're a Chrome user, you can get an extension that will automatically test any website you go to for the Konami code surprises. And for those of you who didn't grow up with a Nintendo playing Contra, up, up, down, down, left, right, B, A, and if you're two-player, select start, to get you your 30 lives of goodness. That's what me and my brother, we used to play Contra.
Yeah, Contra.
And, we'd get the shotgun going, and then we'd get the other shotgun going, and we would just and to make it interesting, we'd say, okay, full speed all the way, you can't stop. And it was a lot of fun. So now you can get this plugin for Chrome, and you will it will automatically test, because a lot of websites do this. They'll put little things on there just because lots of geeks work in the internet, go figure, and we like to do things for other geeks that we enjoy. So there you go. Just wanted to share
a follow-up on a follow-up from a follow-up. So guys, editorial decision here. We're really long. Seth picked 2.
Oh dear. Oh no! Don't tell me. Hold on.
Okay. I'm gonna
2 out of all of them, huh?
And then you pick 2, and I'm gonna go with the Raspberry Pi one. Since this has been a Pi-heavy show, there's a new Pi on the market. Kind of. It's a group releasing a board called the Banana Pi, and I've looked into it. Well, Seth, you had this there, so I'll let you go before I say anything.
Okay, no, yeah, I was just, and that's one of the main reasons I put it in there, is just because, there's a lot of these boards that are out on the market. The Pi's been out for a while now, so the specs are maybe not quite, while they're still not bad for such a small device, you can now get more. I mean, you're paying a little bit more, but you get better specs, and I can't find them in the article, but you pay a little bit more money and you get the Banana Pi, which isn't billed. It's not like the same company that did the Raspberry Pi is releasing their sequel to it. This is kind of a competing company who came out, later time, so you're getting the same thing, but just a little bit more power.
Yeah, so it's a 1 gigahertz dual-core Cortex A7 processor instead of the Raspberry Pi's 700 megahertz ARM11 processor.
Right.
It's got a more powerful GPU. It's got a gig of RAM. It's got a gigabit Ethernet card. The Pi is only 100 meg. It's got a SATA port and a micro USB port. So, you know, there are other people in this space right now. I don't think they have optimized their chip. It seems to me, and this is just my opinion, that they have gone so overboard with throwing stuff on it. They haven't been as careful to optimize as the Pi guys have. The Pi has the components it does because they work really well together, and that's how you're able to get really stellar performance out of a mediocre processor.
Right.
Is because they've really highly customized not just the code that's in it, but the layout of the chips, and they picked this particular chip of the brand and this particular chip. So the Banana Pi's out there. We'll see what happens. Interestingly enough, they didn't make it compatible with Raspberry Pi cases, so you'll have to have a whole new case to do it. It does have some buttons on it, where the Raspberry Pi doesn't have any buttons. It's got a reset button and a power button. It's got a camera connector on it where you can hook up a webcam or a security camera. So there you go. There's the Banana Pi. It's a thing.
Yeah, sticking with the Pi theme, we'll go with is that a pie on your face?
Okay. So how about we've heard of the iPhone. How about the Pi phone?
What?
Yes, this man used a Raspberry Pi and built an actual working cell phone. He ended up spending a total of $158 because he had to buy the he bought a touchscreen for it, a wireless module. He bought a SIM card, so he's not hacking into the phone system. He bought a SIM card for it and a battery. And it doesn't have a heat sink, so it would probably get hot if you used it a lot. But he actually built. He's done a lot of things. He's like a tinkerer of some small fame on the internet. Like one of the things he built was a bark-activated door opener for his dog. But you can follow the link in the show notes here, and he actually used it to make a working phone call. I just thought it was pretty neat. Raspberry Pi can now be used to make phone calls. And maybe you wouldn't, and here's a practical use. You don't want to necessarily maybe have it for something on your face, but like if you were going to have security set up at your house, if you wanted to monitor security cameras, you could like maybe set this up to I don't even know what I'm trying to say now. Where this can be instead of going over your Wi-Fi and your landline, this could go over cellular network, and you could like maybe figure out some way to call into this and then be able to see the security feed from your camera. So that might be used for it. But anyway, it was kind of neat and novel, and I thought it would go well with the Pi heavy nature of the show.
Yeah, so it's no data. It's a plain old phone. You can't text on it. You can just make calls, and it's held together with rubber bands and plastic wire ties.
That's awesome.
And it's so ugly. It's cute. It's like a Shar-Pei puppy. It's such a hideous train wreck. It's actually kind of cool. And I don't know that it would actually be useful to anybody, but there you go. You plug in a headset and you got a Pi phone.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat. So yeah, just kind of cool, and the tinkering nature that really kind of Linux evolved from is, in a lot of ways, at least you would determine would be a spiritual successor to that, can be found in the hobbyist market typified by the Raspberry Pi.
All right, so the next thing, moving off of the Pis, Apple and Samsung have been going round and round in courts here and there, and now they have a case where they both lost, but they both won. So it's okay.
Right. Apple was basically suing Samsung for something another. It was like a $2.2 billion for Samsung infringing upon their patents, and they listed patents. Basically the patent patent number 4, we think you're too stupid to know this isn't a real patent. Patent number 6, anybody with the brain can see this isn't a valid patent. And patent number 12, hey, we've got a lot of lawyers and we're paying them anyway, I think are the actual names of them. And that was editorial comment, not meant to be factual. Sorry. But so the jury
Merrick,
said,
don't write in and correct Seth. Addy, he wasn't attacking you. Sorry.
yeah, I do my shtick just because, we got to have fun on this show, and you got to have fun in life, or otherwise, what's the point? So the jury found that yes, Samsung infringed on like one of Apple's patents, and said, okay, you owe like $120 million, just a little under the $2.2 billion you're asking for. And Apple, you infringed on one of Samsung patents. You owe them a couple of $100,000, less than $1 million they were asking for. So, way to go, lawyers and juries and companies, and just uncommon sense of not having people.
It's like a cashback rebate that you get from the credit card, right? 3%
Right.
cashback. Apple or Samsung got 10% cash back from the jury. They have to pay $120 million, but they got $158,000 back. So it was like 8% there. They got 8% cash back because they used their lawsuits at the gas station.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, it's one of the. It's like, Apple, and this is one of the reasons I don't like patent trolls in general, because I think they're really doing more to try to harm innovation and the actual consumer. But when companies like Apple get hit by patent trolls, I'm kind of happy, because Apple's one of the biggest patent trolls there are, in my editorialized opinion. I just can't we all get along?
No.
Apparently, no. This.
Yeah,
Have you
apparently
heard
not.
of the internet? The internet is a place of cats and people who don't get along.
And are
Right.
full of trolls.
There must be a lot of bridges on the internet.
Every router hop, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, bridges have been replaced by like routers and switches, I think.
I had a piece of equipment that was called a browder, because it was a
Yes.
bridge/router, and they referred to it as a browder, and it made me want to have brunch every time I read the manual.
Man, I had to. I believe that was still part of the Net Plus exam whenever I took it back in the day. So I've had that certification for a while.
I just quick, doesn't have anything to do with anything, so it fits right in with the show. I went on a job interview. I've got a lot of years of experience as a network administrator. I go into this job interview, and one of the questions they ask is, what is the OSI model and what are the layers? I almost got up and left the interview. Like, if you really think that me being able to answer that question is important to do this job, it's not a job I want. I've done this stuff for years. I've run thousands of nodes on a single network, and you're concerned with whether I can answer a 7th grade computer science question.
Yeah.
It's like another friend of mine recently, after teaching 20 plus years, went to get another job, and one of the things they asked for was her college transcript. Who cares? It was 20 years ago.
Yeah, no
Do
kidding.
I really need to show you my transcript? Anyway.
I think it would be funny, like, if I went into an interview today to go dig out my kindergarten report card, and if they ask for my college transcript, just hand that to them as well. It says, I've been out of college a while, but if you want that, here's my kindergarten report card too.
Yeah.
That might be funny.
Okay. Today in history, May
Yes.
3rd, 1978, bad things happened.
The first unsolicited bulk commercial email, which would later be known as spam, is sent by a Digital Equipment Corporation marketing representative to every ARPANET address on the west coast of the United States. And the rest of the story is they made a freaking boatload of money from people who showed up to the open house and bought the system, and that is why spam exists today. Don't
works.
open unsolicited email, people.
No kidding.
Yeah, the internet well, the ARPANET, because it wasn't the internet then, was very mad at DEC for doing that. But DEC was like, we made millions. Be mad all you want. We'll do it again. And other companies said, hey, if they did that, some part, why didn't you do that? Why did you let them beat us to this? We lost sales because they blah, blah, blah. And thus spam was born.
Yeah, I email and postal mail also. The concept of mail is broken in that it puts the onus on the receiver to do all the work.
Yeah.
The sender just fires it off. It's like the kid who a hoax email said he wanted business cards, and now he dumps a dumpster full of business cards every week because people keep sending them to him. The concept of mail, it's not just email, is fundamentally broken in that all the work has to be done by the receiver to sort out what's good and bad and decide what they don't want and reach out and say, don't send me this anymore. It's fundamentally broken, and we knew this. Obviously, we knew this back in the snail mail days, but DEC showed us this in 1978. Hey, this system is screwed up because this crap can be delivered to me and there's nothing I can do about it, and nobody thought to fix that.
But at least with regular postal mail, it cost you money to send. So you were taking a risk that I'm going to spend X amount of money. Now, and of course with email accounts are free, and so it doesn't cost you anything to send. And I don't want to see paid email. I don't want to see every email you send is going to cost you a penny kind of thing. But so at least with the old snail mail, you had to pay money to send it. Granted, it wasn't a lot. You could get bulk rates and all that kind of stuff, but it did cost money. So that was something that would keep some of it at bay.
It's
still spam.
Yeah, we digitized a broken model is the way I look at it, and now whole companies have begun and lived out and died around the concept of filtering mail. Because anybody can send anything, and they can send it as you, right? I must have explained that 1,000 times to somebody. This person said I sent them email. No, they said they got an email with your name on it. It's like if I write an email and put your return address on it, or a physical mail, put your return address on it and drop it in the mailbox. You can't stop that. And there's nothing illegal about it. It just is what it is. So we took a broken system and digitized it and made it 1 billion times more efficient. Yay.
Yeah, more efficient isn't more better always.
Mo better.
Yeah. Where are you going? I don't know, but we're making great time now.
But I don't know what would replace it. Maybe, I don't know. How do you fix that model? Somebody's going to have to come up with something. Somebody smarter than I am. That's not hard to be smarter than I am. But somebody's going to have to come up with a better system. Even the telephone, it's the same thing, right? Anybody can call me at any time. So the way we fix that is unlisted numbers. Well, it's almost impossible to have an unlisted email address. Try it. See how long it takes for somebody to find you. All it takes is for your aunt to hit reply all on a chain message.
Or not even reply all, just for your aunt's account to get hacked.
Yeah.
And they, harvest that email. So.
Or a malware bot who gets into the machine and then carbon copies the address book out.
So it's a thing, and it's been a thing for a long time.
Facebook kind of tried that because if you sent a message to someone you don't know, it shows up in their other box, and for the longest time you couldn't see the other on the mobile side. So I sent you a message. You're like, no, you didn't. I didn't get it. And there's a lot of the trading post groups, which is like Facebook's attempt to kill Craigslist, where you would say, I messaged you, and they're like, I didn't get your message. They're like, check your other folder. And like, how do you do that on mobile? So Facebook tried something that was pretty much everybody thought, this is kind of gross. I really hate this other notion.
Yeah.
And you could pay them, I don't remember how much it was, but you could pay to automatically go in somebody's regular inbox in Facebook rather than other. That was one of their attempts to monetize, and don't really know how successful it was because I don't give them any money. They make money off of me.
Yeah.
Darn it.
Quick aside, somebody out there tell me how to enter a tab on any Android keyboard. Thank you.
That's a good question.
As far as I know, you can't do it. I periodically have to telnet into something from my Android device. And one of the common keyboard shortcuts is type the first couple letters and hit tab, and it'll fill in. There is no tab on an Android keyboard. Somebody tell me how to do that.
I'm gonna have to look at my transformer when I get home and see if there's a tab on it. I'm curious. I don't remember.
All right, so now let's move on to the tips of the dev/random that is now being called. Chris actually has 2 of them.
I do.
For lost time.
I am a little bit. My first one came out of I noticed in my Google Plus feed this thing coming out, and I didn't know that Google was doing this. But did you guys know that Google has a web developing platform that you can download and use, kind of like Dreamweaver?
It actually runs on Linux now, at least
Yeah.
some versions.
That's why it came across my Google Plus feed, and I was like, "Ooh, something new to play with." And it's pretty much all based in Internet or HTML5 language. So here's something that's free to download, and you can play with HTML5 without having to go and buy a professional tool.
Cool.
Yeah,
I did not know this existed until this very moment.
I didn't either. Like I said, it popped into my Google Plus feed,
Because
and
I don't read the show notes. It was a news story that got cut a couple of weeks ago. I feel so unappreciated. Sorry.
well, but that was before it became Linux available, right?
No, that was why it was going to be in, is because it was. But we ended up cutting it because the shows tend to run long occasionally or something like that.
But anyway, yeah, I may have stolen some Seth thunder, but that's all right. I've actually played with it a little bit, and I am woefully inexperienced with HTML5. I actually feel like I'm back in school, and I have no idea what this tool does when I opened it up. There's a lot in that. There's a lot of stuff in HTML5 that I'm now going to have to relearn just to play with this silly tool.
So do you need code, or because one of the dreams of everything is to make it click happy, and Dreamweaver says they're like that, but actually to do anything you have to know the code. So that's
it's both. I think it's going to end up being both, because you have the design view where you can draw things in, but then it also has the code view. So if you know the code, you can go in and tinker with the code itself. So it's something for me to play with when I'm not busy, whenever that's going to be.
All right, and your next link is even more internet related.
Well, it kind of. I'm a big fan of nachos, and it's one of those my little crutch foods. Whenever I want to go have something that I know is absolutely the worst thing for me, I'll go have a thing of super nachos or just chips and cheese for that matter. So this came across one of my lists as well for Irish nachos.
Wait, so you have like a Google search on for nachos?
Maybe. Does that make me a bad person? But
no judgment here.
Okay. But this one is Irish nachos, which would be, instead of potato chips, they are actual potatoes. So you have slices of potatoes covered with melted cheese, sour cream, bacon, and yumminess. So it's going to be on my list of things that I cook probably within the next week or two, because I have a hankering for nachos, and now I have something that I can experiment with and play with. So I'll have to let you guys all know how it comes out when I make it, but they just look really, really good.
It just looks to me like cheese fries. It doesn't look all that special to me.
But no, Mark, the fact is he's doing it with like a bash script that's scouring the internet or something.
You download the internet every night and search for the word bacon and the word nachos, right?
Yeah,
If not, somebody's going to. I know
now that it's been said, so let it be written, so let it be done.
No kidding. That actually sounds like a great idea.
You remember Alta Vista back in the day had the goal of indexing the entire internet every 24 hours. Now I think the internet is growing at a rate like every 24 hours it's bigger than it was in those days.
Yeah.
I remember there was a display where somebody had cached the entire internet from like the 90s, and they set up these different monitors, and it would show every web page, and the monitors would refresh every half second, and so it was just like random boom, 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 and that was the exhibit, is that you had these different screens around this pole, and they would and it was just only like a couple of terabytes back then, so. You could handle that on a couple of flash drives.
Yeah.
Okay, we're way long, but I still have to tell another story. I was in a tech directors meeting for the state of Texas. It was a sort of a high level thing, and this lawyer there was talking, and he was relating some story about how the judge had compelled his client to present all the documents related to a certain thing, and it was over 60 terabytes of data. And he waited for some response to that, and all of us tech directors in the room just kind of looked at him like, and he said, so could you put 60 terabytes of data today on something? And like, yeah, couple dozen hard drives, problem solved. And he was like, well, back then it would have been impossible to fit that much on a 747 jumbo jet. So it was a big deal then. And so it just made me laugh. You were talking about how the whole internet was a couple of terabytes. I've got that much in videos.
Right.
It's the web is growing, but is it growing in any way that we care about? How much of that is cat videos? And keeping up the food thing of Dev Random, Seth has.
Yes, I came across these guys, and all I can say is, they might be guests on the show one day. Dudefoods.com. Basically, this guy just talks about different food he makes, and you can go to April the 14th of 2014, where he talks about the bee. And he says, it's no secret the best part of the BLT is the bacon. In fact, I'd wager to say that most people couldn't care less about the lettuce or tomato.
Yeah.
That's why, while making a BLT for myself one night recently, I decided to skip the lettuce and tomato altogether and just stick with the bacon part of it. An entire pound of bacon, that is. That's coupled with some toasted wheat bread and some deliciously fattening Hellmann's mayonnaise, and my sandwich is complete.
Yum.
I know what you're thinking, that the sandwich was probably too dry since all it consisted of was bacon, right? Well, your assumptions are incorrect. I realize that if you just use the decent brand of bacon and slather enough mayonnaise on there, your sandwich has no chance of drying out. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the B. So
I would eat that.
Dude, I would so eat that. And if you could hold the mayonnaise and the bread for that matter.
Yeah. Look at the chicken pot pie cone. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a chicken pot pie shaped like an ice cream cone.
Yeah, the most recent one as of right now are deep fried Peeps stuffed chocolate eggs. I mean, who would not want to try that?
Me. That doesn't sound good at all to me.
No, it sounds horrible.
It sounds like something I would want to try at Easter. But yeah, so dudefoods.com. Link will be in the show notes. I posted in the chat room for our we had a lively chat room tonight. So.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I can't think of a better way to end the show than on a pound of bacon with mayonnaise. I could picture myself taking a strip of bacon, dipping it in mayonnaise like dip, and just eating it as a snack. Actually, I may go do that now, right after the show, because that sounds amazing.
You guys know what? This is a horrible ending of a show, because I haven't ate dinner yet, and I am just now starving with all the food stuff that we just went through.
Easter dinner idea: wrap your ham in a bacon weave. Just saying.
I hate you both.
What is it? The turducken bacon that I think we had on the show one time?
Yeah.
All right. Enough of this weirdness. If you want more weirdness, come back next week, because I promise there'll be more weirdness. But next week there'll be weirdness with a Linux expert. So double the Linux, at least, in next week's show.
Yes, we'll be an actual Linux podcast. We'll get our yearly quota out of the way next week.
But if you would like to be a part of the show, as this one, we didn't call it this, but this was a listener feedback show, totally. We just didn't call it that because of the date of the show. If you would like to be included on our next show, you can do that by going to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the page. That will send me an email, or you can email directly. Go to edl@elementop.com, send an email there. That goes to all three of us. So if you don't want me filtering your message, you want to make sure the other two guys see it too, that's the way to do it. If you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do that, Google Voice, until they cancel that service too. You can call 559-I-AM-OPI anywhere in the North American continent, and that will leave us a message, and we'll play it on the show. Or if you're too lazy to even dial the phone, go to our website, elementop.com, click the Leave Us a Voicemail button, and Google Voice will call you in case your dialer is broken or you're using a Pi phone. You can do those are all good ways to contact us. Also, don't forget to check out our forum there. All sorts of good stuff there. There's a Bacon forum where I'm sure Seth will be posting a link to the B, probably as we speak. And of course, there's our Bad Movie forum where you can find all sorts of awesome things like Super Cyclone and Sharknado. And that starring Sandra Bullock, who used the word modem. I loved it.
Or the Net 2.0, which
is that a thing?
Realize existed.
I didn't know.
I didn't realize that existed until the other day when I was looking for bad movies.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's not hard to find bad movies, but they're out there. I would say that's probably 50 bad movies made to every one good movie, and some of them have big budgets and are Oscar winners.
And with Rick's comment where he used the word techtastrophe, I firmly expect an Asylum movie is currently wrapping production after having heard that on our podcast.
Well, just for the record, I use the word techtastrophe.
Oh, okay.
In headline editing.
That might be, Sharknado 3 techtastrophe.
The chat room is still trying to figure out ways to send me send tab on an Android phone. They have latched onto that, and they're not going to let it go. Through the bacon and the mayo, they're still trying to figure out how to send tab. Awesome. So that's it, folks. That's it, folks. That's the foe. Wait, that's it, folks. That's the show. Thanks for being with us, Seth, Chris. Thanks as always for your crap that you bring to the show. Chat room, as always, it's been a blast. And for now, I'm going to say that ends this episode of Everyday Linux.
Bang, bang!
It's dead. Kill it with fire.
Double tap.
Later, guys.
Oh. Wow, we got loopy.
Fun show.
Fun.
And we kept it under 2 hours, just barely.
Yes.
It's because we only did 3
Achievement
news shows.
unlocked.
Remember when our first show was like 40 minutes and we were like, God, how are we going to do this every week?
I know.
Yeah. I'm going to have to listen to this one, but this might go into my list as one of my favorites. I keep a list of my favorite ones, and this one has potential.
So what's in your favorite list right now? Just for the record, the live stream is still going, so anything you say can and will be used against you by the internet.
One of them was the history of technology,
Love
or the history of communication. I love it, and hold on, I don't remember the number, and I had already closed the. One of my email addresses, I keep sending myself emails, so, and of course, dang bandwidth.
Yeah, you did just break up really bad all of a sudden.
Yeah, because I'm opening stuff.
Seth, open the window. Whoop, whoop. Hit the overdrive button.
Okay, it's loading. It's loading.
It's like in the old Star Trek. Working. Working.
Every episode 119, when every OS is free. Okay. And then the 126, Are You Talking to Me? The history of communications. Those are my two favorite ones.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This one might make it on the list because, like I said, I'll have to listen to it to know for sure. But
And what was great about this one is we didn't bring most of the content. It was the listeners.
Right. But had fun
The
with
way
it.
it should be.
Yes. All right, Jim, in 7 or 8 minutes when you see this, hey, man, thanks for being part of the show. It was a lot of fun. And I'm going to kill the live stream for now. We'll see you back, guys, next week.
Take it easy, chat room.
Bye, y'all.